Good morning on Wednesday, March 8th, episode 191 of the 359 podcast. My name is Rockwell, and I always feel like somebody's watching me. And I'm here with Alfred and Roger Cheng in the CNET New York Studios. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good morning. How long were you planning that for?
About 30 seconds.
Okay.
Nice.
Worth it?
Oh, yeah. Very, very relevant today.
I want to contribute something to this show.
As I'm sure everyone's heard, WikiLeaks was out with a huge data dump disclosing basically how the CIA has hacked into our personal lives over the last couple of years. Now, we don't know if the data is actually verified. CNET hasn't verified it, and we can't tell if it's true or altered, although experts from our sister site, CBS News, say that, it looks pretty credible.
Okay.
And WikiLeaks has a pretty good track record. But we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about this brewing battle in D.C. over what ISPs can do with our data. And lastly, the last bit of drama between Amazon and federal authorities over some data that was stored in an Echo related to a murder trial. So it's all about privacy today. If you have any questions, as usual, leave them in the comment section. Brian will pick out the best, and we will get to them in about 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
All right, hang on, everybody. We'll be back shortly. Here we go for the recording of the podcast in 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359, where we talk about the top tech news of the day and all the other crap we want to throw in. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred Ing.
It's all about privacy today, or the lack thereof. First off, is the CIA spying on us? According to a WikiLeaks data dump, the agency could be listening in on us using our very own phones. The report, which CNET hasn't been able to verify, said the CIA is able to hack into iOS, Windows, Android, Linux to basically use our devices to listen in on us. Alfred, how freaked out are you by this?
Very. I don't think I'm personally being spied on, but I think there's a lot of privacy issues at hand here, especially considering that people have been turning to alternatives like WhatsApp or Signal to get encrypted messages through so that, they can't be intercepted.
There's sort of a level of reassurance when you're on WhatsApp or online and you could turn on the end-to-end encryption.
Yeah.
But it turns out that's not the case.
Yeah, well, in this case, they're looking at the messages before they're even encrypted, so it has nothing to do with, encryption.
When you have control of the operating system, you can actually see what you see on the screen. You could record the typing, the gestures, and basically get all that information. A little freaky. CIA obviously has not commented on this, but this is a huge blow. If this is all true, this is a huge blow to the CIA and their intelligence gathering capabilities too, right?
Especially considering that this is, according to WikiLeaks, at least this is only 1% of what they have discovered.
Right.
They're gradually releasing more and more information, which is kind of their operating system there, where it's basically we're gonna slowly leak this out because they've been trying to build a discussion and a debate on this. They did say that they also have access to the actual exploits themselves, the programming and coding behind that.
And you found out that some of those exploits had some curious names, right?
Yes. So if you look at the Android exploits on their page, about 8 of the 23 exploits there are named after Pokemon. They're
everywhere.
There's Starmie, Spearow, Lugia, Totodile.
You gotta hack them all.
Yeah, I mean, they had other ones that were named after a villain or a character in Doctor Who, Weeping Angel.
Okay,
So-
that's what a Weeping Angel was.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, our very own Maggie Reardon has a breakdown of the battle in D.C. over your online data. The FCC has hit pause on some regulations that would force ISPs to disclose how they're collecting data and what they're doing with it, whether they're sharing it with third parties. Opponents to this say the rules are a little too strict and actually put them at a disadvantage to, say, Google or Netflix or Facebook, which actually are able to use the data to share with advertisers. So I don't know. It seems like the FCC is kind of rolling back a lot of the things that they had been putting in place over the last few years, right?
Well, they hadn't put the rules in place yet. It was kind of a suggestion from the previous FCC chairman, but now Ajit Pai is basically saying we're not even going to go
They
through with
were
that
supposed
at
to go
all.
into effect, but yes with Ajit Pai, the new chairman, he has definitely more of a pro-business approach. He sort of hit pause on that. All right, lastly, the fight between Amazon and the authorities over data that might have been stored in an Echo related to a murder trial ended in an anticlimactic fashion. Amazon ended up handing over that data since the defendant consented to the disclosure. It would have set up a battle similar to the Apple versus FBI epic, but again, we're gonna have to wait another another time, another case for a precedent.
I think it's disappointing that the defendant decided to do that only because I did want to see what the legal ramifications were for Amazon.
I think
in that case.
I think everyone wants to see it. I mean, we talked about it's a year after Apple versus FBI, and we still really don't have any kind of firm ground on who has the right of way, whether it's technology, whether it's our personal privacy versus the government's right to look into our data.
Well, yeah, the case for the recordings wasn't even on firm ground to begin with. They were just kind of hoping that the Echo was accidentally activated because that's the only time it even records anything.
No, that's a great point. For more on these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred Eng.
Thanks for listening.
And I love this first question I have in the chat. Actually, not a question, it's a comment from Matthew. He says, I guess it's good that some of us have Luddite tendencies and don't use those newfangled apps. I only use text, Google Hangouts, and sometimes Facebook.
Well, if you're on a smartphone, you're still vulnerable.
What is,
that's the whole.
Your texts are vulnerable too. What is he?
Guys, I got it. Let's all get 3310s.
That's what I'm saying. I think this whole CIA leak was just a big marketing
Only problem is that 3310 won't work in the U.S. So we'll have to find
even better.
We'll have to find another burner phone. Well, no, it literally will not work in the U.S. It's just a prop basically. But we'll have to find another burner phone.
You're crushing me with this. I thought I had it all figured out. What do you guys think is really going to be the outcome of this? Are we actually going to see a rollback in smart technology?
Absolutely not.
No,
I don't think. I think the majority of people don't care about their privacy that much, to be honest.
I think a majority of people say they care. Like in surveys, it's always high up there. Privacy is a very big concern, but when it comes down to it, when it's the choice between privacy and whether or not I can FaceTime or Snapchat with my friends, they're gonna pick the Snapchat option.
I think.
But this is America. It doesn't matter about majority.
Yep. I think the conveniency of it all has people like you said, oh wait, yeah, I want to be able to Snapchat and FaceTime my friends at all time. I remember being concerned about privacy myself, and then I got an Echo Dot in my apartment.
Right.
That
your privacy kind of goes out the window there, right?
Yeah, you relinquish that.
Yeah, pretty much. I have an iPhone, so
Well, and Apple is actually they made a comment yesterday. They basically said that a lot of the vulnerabilities that were disclosed in this data dump were patched up in the latest version of iOS. So Apple has actually recommended that if you haven't already, upgrade to the latest version of iOS. You will theoretically be protected. Although WikiLeaks
for now
had something.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know who they're talking to in this case, but they replied to a BuzzFeed tweet about Apple announcing that they had patched most of the vulnerabilities, and all they wrote back was, "No, it doesn't." And then they did hashtag fake news. So I don't know if they're saying cryptic. I don't know if they're saying that about Apple or BuzzFeed.
I'm going to show my true colors here for a second and agree with Ryan in the chat who says, I think it's funny that people thought that they were not being watched by the government.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Especially with all these.
You're still surprised by this? Come on.
All these movies where all the high tech spy gadgets that we see, I feel like people are a little bit conditioned to kind of understand, even on a subconscious level, or that their phones are can theoretically be used to spy on us. This isn't a wildly unlikely scenario that the CIA is doing this, right?
I think people are.
I
aware.
I think it's also not necessarily 100% criminal or malicious.
No,
in a sense, you're just part of the data, part of the ether. We're all just increasing the amount of data, and this is getting delving deep.
It is just scary because it's the CIA.
At the end of the day, you are being watched in a sense, but it's not like somebody's sitting there waiting for you to your most intimate moments.
I think people are aware, though.
It depends on who is using that data. If it's the CIA and it's fighting terrorism, there's an argument to be made, about that. But who else has access to this stuff? And I think it was part of the point that WikiLeaks was trying to make, that the CIA had knowledge of a ton of these exploits, these vulnerabilities in iOS, and they didn't tell anybody. And that's a problem because other hackers can find the same vulnerabilities. It's not like this is something that only the CIA can exploit. Other people can exploit them too.
And now it wouldn't change too many people's opinions if they had come right out in Front Street and been like, hey, we're doing this.
Right.
But it might have helped a little bit. It might have actually made me feel a little bit better personally.
There was supposed to be, I think under the Obama administration, there was supposed to be some mandate for the authorities to actually be up front and center and disclose some of that stuff, but they didn't. But they didn't. So some of that is, maybe it's not malicious in terms of actively trying to hurt someone, but it is malicious in terms of the potential consequence of that.
Right. The principle, they're still at fault here. They're
Right.
still wrong in the way they executed this.
Right.
I'm sorry. Alfred.
If this is all true, by the way.
I cut you off.
Yeah, I
earlier.
mean, I was gonna say I think people are aware that the CIA spies. I think it's more so it just kind of hits home when it's something like, "What do you mean my TV can be like listened to?" Or what do you mean?
Right.
Like, oh, now it can affect me personally. So I think that's like the issue that.
And we were discussing it, that smart TV. Apparently, there's a camera on that TV, and there's a remote with a microphone in it. So, yeah, I mean, like that's.
I mean, I'm personally really ashamed of some of my Netflix habits,
but
but I don't. Anyway, Don's got a deep philosophical question here. It says, which is worse, cable or phone carrier and busybody employees spying, or government like Black Ops spying on you?
Well, one of them is making a profit off of it.
I would say the ISPs. It's pretty.
Looking for the
pretty
silver
clear.
lining here.
I mean that dovetails well into that second topic that we discussed.
Which,
right?
speaking of, I wanted to talk about this on the podcast, but we didn't have enough time. I hate the cable companies like argument about, oh, but Google and Facebook does it.
Right.
I don't think that should be basically. I think if anything, they should make it stricter for Google and Facebook
Yes,
as opposed to
which
saying,
unfortunately they
make
can't.
it easy for
they
everybody.
Can't. So the FTC kind of governs Google and Facebook, the other internet companies. The FCC governs the ISPs, and so they kind of went in with stricter laws. Which, yeah, you're right. Like that's. I see how the companies have a point there. The counter argument to the whole like Google and Facebook are an advantage and we're at disadvantages. For most people, like you only have one, maybe two options for your internet. It's Verizon or it's the cable guys, Comcast or Cablevision. And with internet services, you can choose to not use them. There are other services out there. I mean, granted, it's hard to get away from Facebook, but you don't have to. You don't have to use them. Whereas if you want broadband, which most people kind of define as like it's an absolute must, you don't have a lot of choices, and therefore there should be some regulations on what they can do with your data.
There are certain people whose perspective is, I don't opt into a lot of these programs, systems, technologies, and are they 100% protected? No. Is there an arguable defense that maybe they have a little bit more control? Sure.
Right.
But at the end of the day, let's get real. Politics, government, social norms, people are spying on people. That's the way it's been. We've just made it easier by volunteering to put some of these things in our homes and pockets.
Yeah. No, but I mean, look, the discussion was a little bit about whether or not companies can make money off your data, right?
Sure.
I think you brought in the point of opt-in. That I think is one of the big dissenting points is with the FTC rule with Google and Facebook. It's an opt-out model where it's an opt-out model where basically you're kind of enrolled in, and if you want to get out, you basically have to tell them you want to get out.
Well, and here's where the small print comes into play, though. How many people have actually ever read the disclosure agreement in iTunes?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of our problems is like the legalese.
But the thing of it is, with those regulations that were put on pause with the FCC, they were going to institute an opt-in model where you actively had to say, yes, I'm okay with sharing my data, which I think it should be. It should be like that across the board. It shouldn't just be the telcos or the cable companies. It should be everyone.
Yeah.
Opt-in should be sort of the default setting for everyone.
Does anybody in the chat agree with that? We want to hear your opinion.
Or disagree.
Or disagree. Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
Or somewhere in between. I don't know if you can really. While we're at it, here's an interesting perspective from Australian Tigers. How could they spy on us? We're around 2.1 billion using the internet. I mean, are they actually actively watching everyone in like a statistical sense, or are they just trying to snoop out keywords, key moments,
my
red
guess,
flags?
Yeah, my guess is red flags. Like if you're on a terrorist watch list, you probably expect your phone to be.
It's more of a dragnet kind of thing because it's not an active.
I love that show.
I love that movie actually. The movie that they made out of the show with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's
great
not
movie.
an active kind of thing though because with these exploits, it's more like targeted.
Yeah.
Things
absolutely.
Because it's not like they've hacked every single phone.
There's not like this massive database collecting all of our WhatsApp chat messages, whatever. I think it is definitely more targeted.
Yeah. In this case, at least.
In this case,
they have to hack a device.
Yeah, there's no like automated system to hack everyone.
I love Tobias.
Where they just press the button.
Maybe there is. Maybe like the next data dump is like
probably
the CIA has one big red button. It just pushes.
I love Tobias's feedback on this. He says, "I think it sounds like a pretty boring job."
Yeah.
For the watchers.
Yes, I would agree. I mean, I think it's like you'd have to be like really into listening for juicy details, like a minute of juicy details out of like 12 hours of boring discussions or boring.
They should just
Well,
bring
this case,
bring
it's-
back Jimmy Stewart from Hitchcock's Rear Window and his binoculars.
Oh, with the binoculars. Yeah.
In this case, though, it's not even listening because it's also going through
Right.
text
Reading
messages, so it's
text.
emails and
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
all
yeah,
that. So
It's probably even way
Yeah.
more mind-numbing than
One
you
of-
could imagine.
one of my favorite scenes in the Simpsons movie is when the family's on the run and
Yeah.
then they like reveal where they're on a phone call, and then they cut to a scene with somebody in the NSA that's like, "We finally got somebody." It's like a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
in a big room just listening to everything.
Simpsons always gets it first and
That's
gets
true.
it right.
That's true.
Here's a question from Yathu. How can the webcam turn on without that little indicator light next to it? So that's been like
That's a
a
good
fear.
question.
Yeah.
A lot of people's like,
Right.
that webcam has watched me, but it doesn't have the indicator light on. How does that? Do we know how that works?
No, I mean,
That's a lot of that's a deep diving conspiracy theory. We're not adding any validation to
Right.
that, but it's not without question.
I mean, in that case, though, that's only for your laptop. There's no light that turns on the front-facing camera on your phones.
Right.
True.
So
well, for the computer, I mean, if you're taking over the operating system, the underlying foundation of the device, you can probably tell it to keep the light
There's-
off while
there's-
turning on the camera.
there's
right?
ways to go and like turn off the registry keys.
Yeah,
for that.
exactly. If you have like the keys to the whole operating system, you can probably find a way to
mean,
get around that.
Think
light.
about what they did for the Samsung Smart TVs, where they had the fake off mode,
right.
where
right.
basically it left the microphone on and it made it look like your TV was off. So there's ways to hack into these things to make it look like.
Again, once you have access to that underlying operating system, you can do a lot with that device.
Yeah.
Would use of a VPN mitigate potential spying activity?
No.
No.
I don't
No,
think so.
in-
Again,
in
it
this-
goes back to the operating system. It's on your device. Anything you're doing on your device, they can spy on.
Yeah.
So the
But he's saying if you're trying to mask your literal location through VPN,
Yeah.
would that actually deter? I think they could still probably
Yeah.
power through that.
I think in that case, yeah. If we're talking about
That coming from a
messages,
guy who's
that's
never
different.
programmed
But
anything in my
like
life.
in this case, because one of the exploits for Android that they used was that they could send your geotag and like where you were.
is that one of the Pokemon one?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that it could send your geotag to the CIA, so it knew where
That's
you were.
Geodude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Timothy
Look
Shaw.
at the Geodude.
Timothy says opt-in should be the default. Hugh says just cut the cord. Kind of like
What?
Hugh's
Just
mentality.
don't be on the
So don't
internet?
use the internet.
Let's just all go move back into the forest.
Is
go
this-
get
I mean,
boats and islands.
I
good
can't.
for him. I will be staying in my apartment with my internet connection.
Please read my
Sorry.
cave carving on
Yes.
if the CIA is hacking into your
I guess
carrier
you
pigeons.
can send letters. You can with pen and paper.
People
Carrier
spy on
pigeon?
letters.
What?
Carrier pigeon.
What's the distance for a carrier pigeon?
They can go pretty far.
I couldn't make an international call, could I?
Depends.
So
Like-
can we get CNET to get behind like a new form of communication technology where we actually
Carrier
set up
pigeon
like
powered.
carrier pigeon, carrier bird breeding, and it works like a car lot? Like if you go in
I would say,
short
like-
distances, like the eco-friendly one is the pigeon.
Oh,
If you need to go long
yeah.
distances, you buy you opt up, you pay the premium for the hawk.
Carrier pigeons are probably like more insecure than your phone, though. I think
Right.
I think
couldn't
it'd
you
be
just
easier
catch
for
the-
people
you
to
could just
intercept
the pigeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I think the pigeons are smarter than the FBI. Sorry,
The
couldn't help
federal
myself.
bird investigation.
Yathu asks again, if they are hacking, is there a way to know it? Like, does it affect your internet speed or streaming from the webcam? Like, can
So
you see like an impact
We
on your-
don't. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah.
I think that's so deep down in the.
That's a
weeds
good
there.
question,
It's a
though.
great question.
It's like all of a
honestly-
sudden your speed throttles and you're like, somebody's tapped.
Right. Or like every time your phone has like a pause, or
Yeah.
it gets busy for a second, you have to wonder about
I
that.
mean, the idea though is like when you are hacking somebody is to leave it without a trace. So
Right.
if they're smart about it, then you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, and I think the scarier part is like a lot of this stuff can work when you think your phone is off or in
Yeah.
sleep mode in your pocket. So you wouldn't even know if it was under control, really. Most of the time, it's probably being hacked while you're
Yeah.
not using the phone.
As per usual, Danny in the chat is my hero. He says, watch out for my stone tablet sale next week. Buy a bundle, get a free chisel.
Well, there's a guy who sells those no phones. It's just a
I hate
black
that guy.
3D printed slab of plastic.
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of them.
I mostly hate
Great
it.
stuff.
I
It
mostly
still
hate
plays
it.
Snake.
Mostly hate it because I didn't come up with it first. But
It's a great idea, and he
Man.
sold a bunch of them.
Steven's got a great idea. He says, as for the camera, the LED manufacturers should design it into the circuitry so that the electron must pass the LED in order to reach the camera.
Sure,
I mean,
I'd be all for that.
I wonder how much
just
more
don't know.
How
they'll
would you
make- yeah.
feel like if you're looking down your webcam right down the barrel, and all of a sudden that thing just lights up, and you're like,
Oh no!
I can't like that. Just the
You
thought
could
of that makes
you
my
could just
stomach
do the
drop.
Zuckerberg, man. Just tape your
Yeah.
camera.
Or the Pope. He does that too.
Really?
Yeah. There's a
Pope is
photo of the
smart.
Pope with like a
The Pope is smarter than me, man. I say that. I do not have my camera taped. I should.
I mean, I want people to watch me like secretly. So.
All right, here we
All
go.
right.
All right. I think we're just about out of time. That was a
Yeah.
good discussion. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, great questions, guys. Thank you.
Excellent questions this week.
So, all right. I guess that's a wrap.
Yeah, we got sorry, a bit of an abrupt ending, but we got to move on.
Done.
We're way over time.
We're done. All right. If you liked anything you saw or heard here, check us out on CNET. Our podcast is also available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, and Google Play Music. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Later.
Bye.